My research project was both simple and complex. Simple because the topic was pretty straightforward, as by myself, but complex because I had to study my media habits and the way I interacted with media on a daily basis, which I often take for granted, I don't really pay much attention to. On top of that, my study took place in a global pandemic, which was a time where all of us are spending more time than we usually would on our phones and on the internet. And so I feel like the time I spent on the media allowed me to learn a lot about myself. It allowed me to record some of my experiences via my phone, through taking photos or taking notes or talking to my friends, and also learn about what's going on in the world around me by looking at the news every day, going to my classes, and etc. etc. So the question I sought out to answer after spending a whole year in my house during quarantine was, did I waste the entire year in my house? Like, how did I spend my time? And I felt like the best way to evaluate that was to look at my data of how I spent my time on social media. So I did this through photos I took, through talking with my friends, through taking notes on my phone, listening to music, listening to podcasts, consuming various types of different media. And I put this together. I wrote about all these experiences in my various field reports that I submitted every week. And at the end of the semester, I was able to condense all these field reports in a way into a entire research report, which included a condensed version of the field reports, a more condensed version in the form of a coding chart, which I will show shortly. I'm collecting my data here in my bedroom, at my desk, taking notes, writing my field reports, but most of my data also came from just everyday habits I did. So, using my phone, using my laptop, talking to my friends, all these things I kind of take for granted and don't really think twice about were actually really important in helping me answer the question and help me discover more about myself. Once I had all this data to work with, I was able to find certain patterns in my consumption habits and which also allowed me to discover things about myself. So here is a couple things I discovered along the way, as well as what I learned about the world around me. So one of the things I learned about myself while doing this project was that I had a lot of biases that I wasn't aware of before, and uncovered this about myself through looking at the world around me and reading the news, and looking at some of the discrimination that was being faced by Black and Asian communities and other minority groups as well. Now, I'm very well aware that as a white cisgender hetero woman, I do not experience this kind of discrimination on a daily basis. But at the same time, that privilege I have because I don't face discrimination has allowed me to turn a blind eye in the past to what is happening in the world, and even in my own community. But throughout this year, I spent a lot more time reading the news since I've had more time, and through doing that, I've managed to learn more about politics. I've managed to learn more about the systems of the world, the justice system, the economy, the government. And so I feel like that has made me more self aware, but it also made me more identify my place in society better. So while there weren't any very clear, distinct patterns that showed up all the way throughout the field reports 1 to 10, there were some common themes that showed up in every field report. So, for example, social media was a big one, as well as my family and people, my sister, my grandparents, my friends. Some of the common platforms and apps I used were news stations such as The Economist, The New York Times, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and so on and so forth. I will spend a lot of time listening to music, listening to podcasts, and taking photos as I said before. I didn't really talk about my feelings a lot in my field reports. I mainly kind of talked about things as they were, but some of the common feelings that did come up were sadness, kind of unmotivation because of the pandemic, as well as some happy moments too.